I don't think he's pleased.
Maybe. Yes, sir!
In your life have you seen anything like that?
Can't believe that I did that. I am such an idiot.
Hey, hello once again, everybody. Scott Gaede, Gaede on Golf. Welcome in to the podcast. You get to see my pretty face today, and I've got a guest joining me. My nephew Charlie's joining. He's a big sports fan, played a ton of sports when he's little and when he was younger, and brings a lot to the show. So we're going to mainly be talking about golf. We'll probably get off things a little bit later and talk some other sports. We're both in Cincinnati. We might chat on the Reds. I would think somewhat inadequate and woeful performance so far in the year. We've got family that live up in New York, so as far as we know, everybody's still alive after the Knicks won in
Yep,
last
as
night.
far as we know.
But anyway, all right. So let's talk U.S. Open. I'm going to be heading up there tomorrow in the coming week. I'll probably be doing a course tour at some point, just kind of news and notes every day in the lead up to it. And then I'll have some sort of either beginning of the day or recap on each of those. And then Charlie, I don't know, we might be able, if this is easy enough, we might be able to talk at some point next week. But we'll definitely record another one when I'm back and kind of recap what we think and a couple thoughts after the first couple majors of the year, and really only one left, British Open coming up in July. So
Yeah, that would be great to do something while you're up there if we are able to
yeah,
find
I
the
think.
time. But
I mean, I got to be over there early, but as far as later in the day, I mean, I've got some gaps where I think I'd like to maybe be able to do something after, maybe like the cut or something like that, get a round or
yeah,
two in.
yeah,
We'll have some thoughts on how the course is playing. I think weather right now is supposed to be decent. I know weather can change quickly up there, but I think after two rounds, it give us something to kind of shoot the shit about and then
absolutely.
give some thoughts for the last two rounds. So. Okay, I'm going to jump into qualifying. You want to do that?
Yep, absolutely.
So final qualifying completed last week. They played at 10 different sites around the U.S. and Canada. So there's two levels of qualifying. The first is local qualifying, and that's where I think it was a little over 10,000 people applied this year. I think it was one short of the record. Anybody that's got a handicap index of, I think, 1.4 can try and qualify. So
Okay.
there'll be, I think there was maybe 100 plus sites for first round of qualifying. Those were played like Charlie used to belong to a course in Cincinnati called Makatiwa, like that.
Yep.
They would have a qualifier every year. So that's like
Mhm.
local qualifying. Anybody can do that. And then from there, this year they took a little over 600 players, made it to sectional qualifying. But there's a bunch of guys. That's where all the pros are exempt into sectional qualifying. So there was that went down last Monday. Like I said, that's a 36 hole day. There was 10 sites between the U.S. and Canada. There were 610 golfers competing. The USGA kind of gets an idea, depending on how many players are at each site, how many are going to qualify from that site. I think on average it was probably like 4 to 5 from most sites, but a total of 43 golfers ended up moving on to move into the tournament. So it's still like they call it the U.S. Open because it's an open championship in regards that if you had a handicap of 1.5,
Mhm.
you could try and qualify. But I
So,
mean,
so does that number of qualifiers change each year? Is it
yeah.
dependent on the pool size
Yeah, well,
itself?
that's whoever wants to try and qualify.
Right.
So
Okay.
next year
Okay.
there could be, and it'll probably be higher next year. Being at
Mhm.
Pebble, there'll probably be 11 or 12,000
Right. Right.
that'll try. But the odds of getting, you got to play one round decent to get out of local qualifying, but then you got to play 36 holes. So there's a lot of great stories that happen the day of final qualifying. But I mean, there's nobody like me that's going to catch lightning in a bottle for 3 days
Right.
and beat some of the best players in the world at some of these sites. I mean, a
Mhm.
lot of guys that are qualified, they're elite level amateurs. They played in college. Maybe they're on Corn Ferry Tour, or maybe there was a guy that was on tour. So it is open, but it's still a long shot. But I think a lot of guys, like I've gotten in locals before. I
Mhm.
think the coolest thing would be able just to make it to sectionals because you don't
Right.
know, who you'd be paired with and whatever. I mean,
Right.
if you look at like Springfield, which was the one I went to on Monday, so when they come out of Memorial last Sunday, there's a big qualifier in Columbus, but then there's a smaller one that's over in Springfield. But there was good players over there. Finau
Mhm.
was there, Billy Horschel was there, Zach Blair, Nate Shipley, who won the USAM a couple years ago. The cool thing would be you could get paired with one of those guys.
Right.
So I think a lot of guys like me, that would be a major enough just getting to sectional qualifying, but you're rarely going to find some run of the mill guy like me that plays in tournaments here and there that has a
Mhm.
handicap that's going to make it. So,
Right.
so anyway, did you catch any? I know it was on Golf Channel. They had a lot more. They're getting more and more coverage each year. I don't know if you caught any of that. It went till,
I saw a few clips
yeah.
of Billy Horschel and Neil Shipley. It
Yeah.
looked like Neil Shipley was he the low scorer there? How did
Yeah.
that end up playing out there at Springfield?
He was low. I know Horschel. So I followed Horschel around for most of his first 18. I think he was 3 or 4 under. And so he finished on the ninth hole, which was kind of a downhill par three.
Mhm.
And he was in the back fringe and he chunked it. And he probably had a 15 footer, a curling 15 footer he had to make. But that got him in. If he bogeyed that, I think there would have been a 3-way playoff for the last hole there.
Okay.
But there ended up not being a playoff. There was one guy, a guy named Max Moldovan, who went to Ohio State. He's played in the Open a couple times.
Mhm.
Actually last year at Oakmont, he teed off on 1 in the morning and drained it from the fairway. So he was the leader of the U.S. Open for about 20 minutes at 2 under. But
That's
he's a really
awesome.
solid player. He had a putt for birdie on 18. It was raining by that point. Just 18's a really steep uphill green, and the pin was kind of back left, and he had it dead in the middle and just left it a
Yeah.
couple inches short.
Yep.
So it's a grueling day. I don't know how the pros get through it. I mean, it's
Mhm.
it's 36 holes, and I think you start to get a sense after the first 18 holes. Those guys live with a cut every week. They can almost tell you what it's going to be, but you start to
Right.
get an idea. Okay, if they're taking the top 4 or 5 guys, what you got to do. But it's just I can't imagine playing 1 round is hard enough. I can't imagine playing 2 rounds. But you brought up Shipley, like it was kind of cool. Like that guy's played a bunch on tour this year. He's played some Corn Ferry stuff. I mean, he won the USAM. He's played in some big events, but like I think he made birdie. He was in. I think he was in clearly, but I think he still made birdie on 9. And you could see he gave a little fist pump, like he was into it. Like those guys, they
Yeah.
give a shit. I mean, they wouldn't be there if they didn't.
Right.
But
Right.
it's just funny sometimes. It's crazy to think. I mean, you've seen guys like Sergio Garcia and other guys that will be in these qualifiers, and you just think, God, do these guys really want to play 36 holes to get in a tournament they played in a bunch? But it's a big deal. It's a major
Yep.
U.S. Open,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so it was cool.
Were Finau and Homa there too?
Yeah, Finau was there. I know he was in the group behind Horschel. Yeah, Max Homa was there. Wait, was he there? No, Homa was. I think he was in Ontario. He got in a playoff up there. I think
Okay.
they had like an 8 for 3 playoff up there. Big names in Springfield were Finau, Horschel, Shipley, Zach Blair, a guy named Dylan Wu, Austin Greaser. He's a kid that went to North Carolina. He's been on
Okay.
tour for a couple years. But those were kind of the top tour names. But yeah, I think
Okay.
that night I was at home watching Homa was in the playoff, and he got in the playoff, and I can't remember if he bogeyed the first hole or not, but didn't make it in. So,
Okay.
just kind of running through some names people might
Mhm.
recognize. Country Club up in Purchase, New York. Ben James, who just qualified for the tour. I didn't check today. He was actually this week now. Canadian Open's his first tournament, and he's in the lead. So he's been playing some pretty good golf. But he qualified, like I said, out of Springfield with Shipley and Horschel. Woodmont in Maryland. They played there a bunch. Jackson Suber. He might even be in the final group today. He came out of there. Jackson Suber, I think, when was that? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when it was down at Pinehurst when McElroy missed the putt on the last hole. Actually, John Rahm or somebody withdrew, and Suber was like the first alternate. But Rahm was like playing as a past Masters champ, so it was like I can't remember if it was a past U.S. Open champion or the past British Open champ, but like Jackson Suber's this alternate and gets thrown in with these like two guys that are top 5 in the world, but he played pretty well. So
Could you imagine?
no, I think the thing that's crazy now, like when I was younger, when I was in college, and you would see like a younger amateur get in through qualifying, like nobody expected anything, and you could tell these guys like just looked like they had to shit their pants on the first tee,
Right.
but like now, like just even him with Suber a couple years ago, just throwing him into the mix, and it's like I'm not saying these guys can win, but it's like you saw it a lot more at your age in the sports
Mhm.
you grew up with. I mean, there's so many more avenues, whatever you want to play. I mean, when I was younger in Cincinnati, there was a couple of junior events to play, and now you could play in one a week. And
Mhm.
it's like these guys playing so much shit and AJGA stuff, and now college. Like, I think by the time it comes to it, these guys just aren't intimidated, man. They're so
No,
much
they're
better.
not scared of anything.
No, I mean, and you used to see, it felt like you might not see any, but maybe one or maybe two AMs make the cut. And it's always kind of a cool side story on Sunday at the Open, whoever's going to be low amateur, whether it's at
Right.
the Masters, US Open, or British Open. But yeah, I mean, these guys, it's just, they're so much better. So there was a dude that qualified, Ben Silverman, out of Canada. Out of down in Palm Beach Gardens. It's kind of funny. I saw he qualified a couple years ago. He qualified for the Open when it was at the Country Club up in Boston. And he was like a Corn Ferry Tour grinding at the time. His wife and his kid. I was out there. He was in one of the second or third last groups. And it's cool to see a guy like that just totally under the radar that just grinds it out after the last
Mhm.
couple of years. I mean, he's at a point where he's still to go through qualifying, but I've seen his name pop up on leaderboards a little bit more, and so it's good to see guys like that get in. So now qualifying's done with. So now what they'll do with the field. So there will be a total of 156 players. So right now, after qualifying, with 43 guys making it out of sectional qualifying, they've got 149. This was from a couple of days ago. I don't think they've added any yet. So I think what happens is at the end of this week, there's maybe like another. I can't remember it. There's a world golf ranking that they use at the very end. I think it's the top 60 in the world ranking as of June 15th. Those guys will probably fill the last couple spots to give them 156. If they're one or two short, then the USGA might go to a special exemption or something like that.
Okay. Got it.
But the field's pretty much set. I guess once they complete play today at Canadian Open, they'll add the guys that aren't otherwise exempt in the top 60 in world ranking. So they'll have 156, and then from there, probably tomorrow morning, my guess is they'll put the pairings together, and then the pairings should come out. Maybe I feel like they come out Monday afternoon or like Tuesday morning, something like
Yep.
that. So
Yep.
it'll be long days. I mean, the first 2 days will be teeing off 6:45 in the morning till probably 2:30 in the afternoon. I don't know if it just became that way, but I think that's why the U.S. Open's always been played when it is, because you're right at the beginning of summer, so it's longest days of the year.
Longest days.
But
Yep.
we should be seeing those pairings come out pretty soon. There are other exemptions. I'll run through a couple of them. There's a
Mhm.
shit ton of them, but for example, U.S. Open champions in the last 10 years. So that's Spawn, DeChambeau, Wyndham Clark, Fitzpatrick, Rahm, Woodland, Koepka, Dustin Johnson. Top 10 in ties from the U.S. Open last year. And that's something that I always kind of like looking at, is when you see a good example was, the PGA at Aronimink a month ago might not have been the most exciting thing. I forget the name of the guy. Do you remember any of the guys that were in the last? What was the guy's name? I can't remember his name. Anyway, there was a guy who was in the last group, Alex Smalley. He was playing in the last group, and it had already been determined. Like, I think Aaron Ride putted out, and nobody was going to catch him. And I think
Mhm.
Smalley and those guys were on like 16 or 17 or whatever. But he had a lot at stake because at the PGA, the top 8 players make the Masters. So he made it on the number. So it's kind of cool Sunday. You're watching the guys at the top of the leaderboard, but it's cool sometimes to watch what's going on around the top 10, because you might see an amateur or somebody sneak in there and get
Right.
next year. They take the current senior Open champion, that's Padraig Harrington. We talked about Shipley a little bit earlier,
Mhm.
USAM. they always take the USAM and the runner-up from the USAM. I think this year it's Mason Howell and Jackson Harrington are both in, but I think those guys, I think both finalists always go to the Masters, but I think you got to win the USAM to get in the British Open. Junior amateur mid-am, they'll take Masters champions from the last 5 years that aren't exempt. So McIlroy qualified by that, starting last year when he won. Aaron Rye got in on exemption now after just winning the PGA. They take Open champions from the last 5 years. Guys from the tour, and if you make the Tour Championship field, multiple winners, top 5. I mean, it's a pretty long list. So tons of names on there, and then all the qualifiers. So we should see this thing rounding out. There was also final qualifying was also in Europe, in Japan, and in Europe about a month ago. There was one in Dallas about a month ago, but most of them wrapped up last Monday. So that's probably the most you've ever heard about qualifying for the US
It
Open.
was indeed. I'm sure
Did you
for
ever?
the
Did you ever know
listeners, it's the
anybody
most
that
they've heard.
say
Say it
that,
again.
Rogan?
I'm saying I'm sure for the listeners, it's the most they've heard about qualifying as well.
Yeah, it's the thing I like about it is that's the thing that, and British Open goes the same way. I mean, you got to have a certain handicap. You could go over there and qualify. I mean, it's just no, none of these guys are ever really going to come out of nowhere to win. I mean, there was a dude, obviously way before my time, Jack Fleck, in
Mm,
Olympic Club back in the 50s, beat Ben Hogan in a playoff, and Fleck was kind of this no-name, but he really wasn't. I mean, he was kind of like a half-ass touring guy, but like it's never happened where some dude just
right.
rolls out of bed and decides to qualify for the U.S. Open and then shows up and all of a sudden miraculously shoots 3 rounds in the 60s and moves on. But it'd be fun to see,
but
but
but a man can dream.
I don't know. Anyway, so what do you know about Shinnecock? So we're going back there this year. Was back
Yep.
there in 2018. I'm sure you probably might remember an Open or two at Shinnecock along the way.
Yes, if I recall correctly, Brooks
Yeah.
Koepka
Yeah.
last winter there.
Yeah. That was his first U.S. Open. Shinnecock's a great course. It's old. It's one of the 5. There was 5 clubs that founded the
Mhm.
United States Golf Association. That was one of them. I think the others were the Country Club, Chicago Golf Club, Newport, and St. Andrews. But Shinnecock was one of them. It's been around since the 1890s when the course was developed. But it was funny, they had a U.S. Open there way back in 1896, and they didn't hold another one there for 100 years. So when I was younger in high school is when they went back there for the first time in 1986. Then they kept it going on a rotation. It was there in 95, and then I went in 2004, and then I was working the one in 2018. So it's any golf course ranking you see for the U.S., it's going to be in the top 5 somewhere. So it's a great track. The cool thing about it is I think wind comes into play a lot more up there than you see maybe traditionally on a lot of kind of tree lined open courses in the past. So the wind can really play a factor. You got to remember back when they built these courses, they'd kind of go to old farmland, so you didn't have to remove a lot of trees. But most of the difficulty really comes in the kind of construction and the complexes that the greens are built out
Mhm.
of. That seems to be where most of the defense is. It sounds like right now that they're kind of going. USJ in the past, US Open used to be like single file down the fairway and then just massive rough. And it just kind of was, if you couldn't hit a fairway, you were screwed.
Mm,
I'll know more when I get up there. It's sounding like I think some guys made some trips up there ahead of time when they talked at the PGA and press conferences. I think they're trying to get more back to the original design of the course and kind of the thing about the Open Championship every year, like they just kind of set those courses up like Royal Berkdale, whatever, and they
mhm.
just whatever happens. If it's
Yeah.
20 under, it's 20 under. If the wind blows and it's 5 over, so be it. And they don't really
Right.
care.
Right.
I don't really think the USGA I think they like par to kind of be the barometer on what can win, but I feel like this year they're kind of going back to Shinnecock. They've had some issues the last 2 opens there. They've let the course get away a little bit, course being a little too dry, and then the wind even picks up more, and some greens almost become unputtable. So I think they want to get back to more of the architecture of what the course was built on and just
Mhm.
see what happens. And if 12
Yeah.
under wins, so be it. So what I'm hearing is that the fairways are really wide. Like it's almost, unless the wind is just ripping, like it would almost be hard to miss a fairway. But fairways
Always.
are really hard. So if you're left or right, you're probably going to bounce through. And then just right outside the rough, like there's no graduated, like it's probably 5 or 6 inches of just shit right away. So
Yeah, I'm hearing wide fairways, but you're penalized if you as soon as you miss
yeah.
it. That with the green as well.
And I got to think if the fairways are that hard and they're rolling out that much already, then the greens are going to be about the same. I mean, I said this in 2018 when I was up there. I was like, well, they surely won't let this shit happen again, and it got away from them. I really can't think. There's actually a whole new group now overseeing course setup for U.S. Open, and I don't think that's going to happen again. I think they'll just see what happens, and
Mhm.
if it's a really low score under par, so be it. But it's the cool thing about that track is the wind and the weather can really make a huge
That
difference. And a couple of times I've been there, it really hasn't come. I mean, the wind's kicked up, but not. When they were there in '86, they had a round or two where it was raining sideways, and I mean, it looked like the British Open. So it'd be cool if they could get back to that, but I don't
could
know.
you see it being a relatively low score if the wind and weather
Yeah,
is
I would
steady,
think. I mean,
wider fairways?
if the wind's not howling and it's not that
Mm,
hard to miss a fairway, I can't imagine. If you're smart about it, I mean, I think the play for most U.S. Opens is you let the week unfold. Is just hit the ball to the middle of the green or have somewhere where there's an uphill. There's no
mhm.
reason to go for any pin.
Right,
So, I mean,
right,
if you're hitting fairways and you're doing that, I can't see how you probably wouldn't have a couple under each day. I mean,
right.
the par fives are gettable on 16 and 5, and then there's some shorter par fours. They all play into the wind. Par threes are tough. They're long, but yeah, like I think if guys get off, and then if they make the halfway point at 4 or 5 or 6 under, and they get
Mhm.
any rain and it softens it up, then yeah, I think it could be.
Yeah,
It's not going to be an out of hand 20 under, whatever. I mean, but I think that it'll probably. I think last time I'd have to look. I think Kepka maybe was 1 under around even. I kind of get the sense 4 or 5 under is going to win. I feel like when they go back to a lot of these courses, if weather's relatively the same, I mean, they are just getting longer and longer each year, and these
right.
courses get shorter and shorter. And so,
Mhm.
if it was 1 or 2 under the last time, it's probably going to be a couple lower than that. But weather will dictate everything. So, but hopefully, I can get up there, and maybe we can have a chance to chat briefly before they start, and then we'll probably do something at the halfway point. So,
Yeah, get some boots on the ground content.
yeah. So anyway, all right. So that's kind of the deal. So, like I said, I'm getting up there on Monday or Tuesday. We'll try and talk at some point, and then I'll try and get something scheduled here at the halfway point, and we'll see how it unfolds. So it should be a good week. You planning on watching a lot?
Yeah, as much as I can, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I think coverage. I know. I think it's 6:30 to 8 o'clock, and whether it bounces back between Peacock, NBC, Network, whatever, there'll
Mm,
be plenty on. So yeah, it'll
absolutely.
be fun. So all right, well, let's talk next week.
The
Do we
best
want
days of
to?
golf. Those first 2 days are the best days of golf of the year.
Yeah, and it's there's always some no name guy. Of course, I'm a golf nerd. I'll probably know who he is, but
Right.
some of the names you get on the leaderboard the first day or two are there briefly and disappear quickly. I
Yep.
mean, I'd love to see like somebody like Rahm or McIlroy win, but I feel like I'll have a better pick later in the week. But I feel like it's going to be like a Billy Horschel or a Gary Woodland
Mhm.
or some guy like that. Wyndham Clark's been playing really well the last month. I know he won a couple years ago, but I almost feel like
Burns has been playing.
yeah, somebody like that, like Sam
Yeah.
Burns, Daniel Berger, somebody like some guy that's been playing on tour for a while, has a
Also feel
handful of
like
wins.
Oberg has gotten off to those hot starts in these kind of
Yeah,
tournaments too. What was that? 2 years ago, he was the 36 hole leader.
yeah, yeah. That was at
Had
Pinehurst.
yeah, triple on what was that third round? Kind of
Yeah, and
took
he
away all his
was
mojo there.
Was it last year when McElroy won the Masters? I mean, Oberg kind of like I think he was right there, and then I can't. He tripled maybe. He might have tripled it. I mean, I think he kind of was out of it, but then really shit the
Yeah.
bed the last two.
Yep.
So I mean,
Yep.
he's that could be a good call because I think that guy's got all the talent in the world, and so he's kind of I don't know. As for as shitty as I think he keeps playing, I keep feeling like I see his name up on the leaderboard a little bit. But yeah, I just feel like it's going to be somebody that hasn't won a major yet.
And you know,
But
Justin Rose is going to be within 3 or 4 strokes of it on Sunday, no matter what. It's
I
just
know
what he does.
it's
Tommy
so funny.
Fleetwood.
Like back when I was younger, and when Jack Nicklaus won the Masters at 46, I mean he wasn't winning anything else at the time, and that just seemed so ancient. And it's like. I mean, Rose is 45. I mean, he's probably going to
It's
play on the. He's probably going to play on the Ryder Cup next year. Like,
he's
I mean,
playing the best golf of his career the last 2 years. It's insane.
of course, he's got like a mobile hospital falling
Right,
around. So
right, right.
that's what it takes. You know,
Yep.
I was talking about. I was just watching. I just started watching this Rafael Nadal thing on Netflix, and he screwed up his hip years ago, whatever. But like talking about like Justin Rose or Nadal, or just like watching the guys that go through the NBA playoffs. I mean, you know, adding almost 2 more months to your
Mm.
days every year. Like no matter what pro sport you play, football probably being the most, but like it literally takes years off your life.
Oh,
I mean,
it's
what
like
you have to
that.
do to grind and just stay competitive, like it just tears your body up, man. I don't
Oh,
know how
and he
people.
probably had to do twice as much because he's 45.
I know as you get older.
Yeah.
So anyway, what do we think of the Reds at this point? Our hometown Reds.
What are we doing right now?
I don't
We're up
know.
2-1 last I checked.
They're 200, 500. They won what 32, 33.
Under the what seventh or eighth rebuild during the
Yeah.
Castellani regime.
What did
So,
you say? You've never seen the Red? What was it? You've never seen them
well,
win a home series?
I've never seen them advance past the first round of the
Okay.
playoffs, and I've never seen them win a home game in my lifetime.
Jeez. And they probably haven't played a ton, right?
No, not a ton.
Jeez, that's.
Not a
I
ton.
guess the one kind of encouraging thing. I think they're 32 and 34, or they're 33 and 35, whatever it is. But like last year, 83 games got you in the wild card.
You're right.
So right now, if I said the Reds, you know, middle of June only have to win 50 more games this year, that's doable.
Mm.
But the problem is, I don't think it's going to be 83 game wins this year. I think it's going to be probably a few more at the rate they're going. So
Yeah, it's not good.
I don't know.
It,
I don't know.
it's
They just
bad.
can't seem to.
Nothing clicks at the same time.
No.
When pitching's good,
What were you
hitting's
telling
horrible.
me? What was that you were telling me the other day on the pitching about how shitty the bullpen's been? You texted me that stat or threw something out
Oh
about.
my, yeah, it was something to the extent of I don't even know where my phone is, but when your bullpen has gives up like a 6% chance to blow the lead, which is like unheard of, and they've done it 25 times,
I
something to
felt
that
like they
extent.
did it,
It's just insane, and nobody else in the league was even close.
and I feel like in the last week, all those games in San Diego, like I don't know, they just can't. I don't. It's and now it's like every game. If I look at the score and it's 2-1 in the fifth inning, you're just
Well,
like,
it's they're built to be a small ball, win low scoring games, and you can't do that when your bullpen's horrible.
they just still seem to have no real power threat, which I
No,
don't understand.
there's yeah,
Playing in the ballpark, they do.
no, I'll never
So,
understand that.
what of the Knicks? Did you really give a
But
shit about that? Or
Kyle Schwarber has damn near 30 home runs already before the All Star break, so that extra 10 million we didn't offer him would have, you know,
I don't
uh,
think he was. I don't think he was coming there anyway. I think I don't know. I guess he made the trip and hurt him out,
I
but
think as long as Philly was going to give him the right number, he wasn't going to leave. But
yeah. Did he? He was. Was he from here? Was he from
he's from
Denver?
Middletown, yeah.
Then did he play at IU?
IU, yep.
That's wild. Have you watched
Yeah.
any of the College World Series at all?
No, all I see is West Virginia content, I think,
Yeah.
with the country roads.
I saw Troy got
I
in.
haven't
I
seen a
think
whole
they
lot
lost
of,
to West Virginia. And then I was paying attention a little bit because Carolina's in. I think they won their first game, but I don't know how good they are. It seemed like it was a pretty good lineup of 8 teams. I mean, nothing against Troy, but I mean from name recognition, everybody else seemed like there was a lot of ranked teams that made it in. So
Have you been out to Omaha before?
I went in the late '90s, but they used to play it at an old stadium called Rosenblatt Stadium,
Mm.
and I've been out. I've been in Omaha doing the new stadiums out there, but I haven't been to any games there. Did you ever? Didn't you go?
It's
Didn't you do
yeah,
something when you were younger
I've
out there?
yeah, I played a summer baseball travel tournament out there, and then we went to a handful of games.
You
It's
guys
pretty
didn't
cool.
play in the stadium, did you?
No, not in the stadium. We just played at fields around the city.
Were you? Did you go to College World Series, or is
We
there?
did, yeah. We went
Oh,
to a
you
few
did.
games. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I'll
remember
tell you what. I
UCLA.
think every game
Stony
looks
Brook
like it's
was
sold
the
out.
yeah. Oh yeah, every game it's sold
Yeah.
out. It's pretty
So.
cool though.
It is. It's a nice stadium. It's a cool stadium. So, okay. We'll wrap it up for the day. This is sort of
Yeah,
historic. This is like when
yeah.
ESPN came on the air. So we'll have to
Right,
say this for posterity.
right.
So, all right, I'll
Absolutely.
get connected with you, and we'll figure out a time to get
Sound-
together. But
Sounds great.
we'll have a lot of coverage coming this week as Gaede on Golf rolls on.
Yep.
See ya.
See you at Shinnecock next.
Yeah.
See ya.